be an interesting episode. I think it'll be fun. I'm going to kind of monologue for a second, then I'll let you jump in here.
I'm going to sit back and just...
I'm monologuing to you because I want you to like get the full context of where I'm coming from. But there is something that is trending, which I didn't even know. I've known of this before it got super popular, and it was called DINK. Mm-hmm. DINK. And that stands for dual income, no kids. All right. So
all right.
I've heard about this years ago, and basically it's just a couple that they have dual income and they have no kids, and that's pretty much what it meant. I didn't see it as a negative thing necessarily because I was like, okay, maybe you're having kids later and you decide, you want to have that dual income, save up some money,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And so now it has morphed into something different thanks to TikTok. So dual income, no kids, basically doesn't just mean we have dual income and we have no kids. It means we have dual income, we have no kids, and we don't ever want kids. And we're going to tell you why we don't want them for all of these different reasons.
All right.
And that's what it's turned into. Actually, Candace Owens, she did a video on this, and honestly, there's part of me that wants to react to it because I don't think she understood the origins, where basically what she did in this video is she went after these people that are genuinely not having kids because they're selfish. They're like, I just want to travel all the time, and kids are just in the way. They're loud and annoying, and I can do all these different things without kids. Mm-hmm. But the one thing, she kind of almost boasts in herself, and she's like, I'm able to do this, and but the thing that she really does not acknowledge, which it's fine that she has this, but she has a nanny, right? She has an assistant, she has all these people that help her, which again, if you're rich enough to do that, more power to you.
I feel like I have stronger thoughts about that than I do people deciding not to have kids.
I mean, if you're able to get some extra help with your kids and you have the money, you shouldn't have to. I don't feel like you should have to apologize for that. But I think she made it sound like if I can do it, you can do it too. And I think a lot of people in the comments were kind of upset with her because they were like, I hate to break this to you, but yes, what you're advocating for here is good, but you sound a little bit tone deaf because you have a nanny and you have an assistant, and it's a lot easier for you to do your podcast and have your husband, run his company, where it's this is not, she's in the upper class. That's just the reality.
It's not realistic to most people.
Yeah, it's harder for most people. Honestly, I don't think there's any way I could, if I were in Candace Owens' position and I was doing a podcast every day, and if I've seen it a few times, and this is not, I don't fully dislike Candace Owens or anything. I'm kind of 50-50 with her, where she says some good things and then sometimes she says some not so good things. But she is wearing, she has her hair and her makeup done. She has a beautiful outfit on. Makeup takes time. Hair takes time.
Right.
And I know this because I do my makeup for this show, and I do it much more quickly. It's not quite as good as Candace because she has fake eyelash.
I do my makeup
He has perfect skin. It's so annoying. Most men do have perfect skin, and it's really annoying. But all that to say, though, to do the false lashes, to have, the stage makeup takes time, and she has black hair, so that takes a little bit more time for her to, iron that down. So that's a lot of time that she's not spending with her kids, plus she has that podcast. If she did not have help, a nanny or something, she could not do it. Good luck
doing all of that without that help.
She couldn't. That's right. She couldn't do it. And that's okay that she has a nanny. I'm not necessarily hating on her for that. I don't think she did a very good job, though, disclosing. It's I recognize that she, and this is my problem with her sometimes, is that she almost speaks so passionately that she almost sounds mocking. And it can get a little bit, and you're kind of okay, man, I understand. I agree with her general point, but she does sound very, very tone deaf talking about it, where she's it's easy for me, I almost kind of want to pull up that clip because it does.
Yeah, I know
context.
the type of clips you're talking about with her, because I think even Shapiro's been accused of those before with his, pull yourself up by your bootstraps comments. And it's like, all right, that's not everybody, dude.
Yeah.
Like not everybody can do that. And even if they do, it doesn't mean that they're going to have an opportunity there for them. I would say, I think both Ben and Candace come from some background of wealth.
So Candace, I think a little bit less, where I don't know like a ton about her. I know she didn't grow up rich though. I know that. Mm-hmm. I think here's my point necessarily is that she makes a good point in the sense that, yes, you should have kids. Yes, it is hard, but you should do it. Like if anyone said that phrase to me and it wasn't Candace Owens, I would agree with it, right? I'd agree with that phrase. You'd probably end up agreeing with that phrase in some way.
To some extent, there's definitely people I meet and I'm like, you shouldn't have kids.
Yeah.
Please don't have kids.
Well, you can make the argument that these people that are just so bent against not having children probably shouldn't have kids,
and I think I'm okay with that actually.
Maybe you don't. Well, we can talk about the population, but that's another subject in itself.
No, yeah.
But I think there's some of it that seems, and I think I get a little scared to even criticize Candace Owens because I know she's kind of a fireball.
I feel like you're going to be on that list one day.
Yeah, and it's not because I hate Candace Owens. It's just that I see, there's some inconsistencies that I see where I'm like, it's okay that you have all these things. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. It's okay. I don't have an issue with you having these types of things, but I think it's important to acknowledge it's like, hey, it probably is a little bit easier for me to do this than it is for, someone that you have a family that they have maybe off of one income. Yeah. Or you have two parents that have no choice but to work. And then you're trying to, take care of your kids. I think empathy can be good at points because it does help get that message across. Mm-hmm. And I do think there are points though where I think Ben Shapiro is correct. You have to get up. And also his background too. He wasn't. I don't think he grew up super rich himself. Like he shared a bedroom with his like three sisters, and they both of them worked to get to where they're at. So I respect that, and I wouldn't necessarily take that away. But I do think it is important. They are in the upper class. Like that's just the reality. They're in the upper class. Middle class, that can be a little bit more challenging.
For sure. So back to these DINKs.
Yeah, so the idea of DINKs, and I think Candace Owens came into it because I watched a clip from her, and the comments, they were kind of varying where they're like, we understand what you're saying, but, and it just seemed that she lacked a little bit of understanding with her response. See, there's those buttons again. But I wanted to get your thoughts, though, on the idea of DINKs. When is it okay to be a DINK? When is it getting a little too far? Just get your initial thoughts, and then I'll just kind of probe you from there.
My initial thoughts is it's probably a smart move early on. As being single and then being married is probably a good idea to get that income, especially seeing the economy and inflation and stuff like that. But also just, in general, even if you didn't have that, preparing for a kid because they're expensive.
No one talks about that. Like,
they're pricey. If nobody talks about that, then they haven't gone and gotten a pet and found out how much that pet costs. I'm not talking about a goldfish or something, dog, cat, something like that.
It's not even like, buying the clothes or the medical bills, like the medical bills after they're born. Like it's actually the hospital, like just giving birth to the child itself. Like you're looking at, I think one friend told me, I think they did have insurance, but it was like $8,000.
Yeah, and that's probably just what insurance didn't cover. It was probably more than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But they had to pay out of pocket $8,000, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's expensive.
It's expensive there,
itself.
But the amount of time and the amount of diapers you're going to spend, like
diapers are so expensive.
Diapers are incredibly expensive. I can understand why people switch over to cloth diapers. I just haven't gotten past the mental block of having to
wash
clean baby shit out of it and then put that in my washer.
Yeah.
I'm not, I haven't got there yet, but depending on the price of the diapers, it might start looking pretty good here relatively soon, or at least by the time my wife and I decide to have kids.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying, like you and your wife, I'm not trying to get you guys to give any sort of personal information, but you guys don't have children at the moment.
And we're coming up on 2 years.
Right, coming up on 2 years. And I can speak from just who I've talked to is that they typically are like, yeah, I want to wait a couple of years to have kids, not because we don't want them. It's because we want to make sure that we're bringing our kid into, a somewhat financially stable situation.
Right.
And so that's why some people tend to wait. It's like, hey, we have that dual income. I think a smart thing to do if you have two people is save one of those incomes and then live off of one of those incomes if you are able to. That's
if you're able to.
Finances are not always that clean.
That is the ideal scenario that you would strive for.
It's ideal. It's ideal. Doesn't always happen, but it's ideal. But then you have people that are like, I just don't like we want to get married, but
don't have kids.
No kids. And so it's like they almost are very prideful of the sense of, yeah, we have dual income. Yeah, we have no kids. And these TikToks, by the way, and I want to describe them a little bit, is that these TikToks have gone into the realm of making fun of those who do have children. And that is where it gets a little dicey. That's
something that was interesting listening to Jordan Peterson talk about, was the idea of living forever. There's there's the religious concept of eternal life, and then there's the idea of procreation on earth so that your genes continue to live on. And I think that was a lot more observed in older ages and bygone eras where you wanted to make sure you had kids so that your lineage would continue on. They were very aware of that.
Well,
and people today are not aware of it.
Well, it's not just that. To add to that point, it's more than that. I think actually, I was talking about this with someone else, is that it was important to have children because they were your life insurance.
Yes.
They're the people that take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't have to do that, where it's like the government kind of like, kind
of depends on the country and culture. We know the Asian countries are still heavily young people or kids are going to take care of their parents.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's like you said,
there's different cultures, but at least for here in America, where we are residents,
very individualized, very independent, in sometimes some really negative ways.
Yes.
But so continue.
I don't think that people are quite aware of this idea of the future. They can't think that far ahead, at least not seriously, I would say.
Why do you think they can't think that far ahead?
I don't think that our society has tuned them for it. They're the live for the here, the now. It's short gratification. I mean, that's why TikTok is gotten so popular. You can go through it, in 30 minutes, you can watch, 60 plus different videos and get a good amount of information. But I mean, everything has just become really quick and easy to access. They want to get through it and be done with it. I don't know. It's just like, it's like one thing after another. We've talked about that before, about how shorts, whether it's YouTube shorts or Instagram stories or whatever it is, if it's under 60 seconds, like the way that people can just ingest that content, I don't know. I feel like the immediate access to answers and stuff with the internet and communication doesn't have people playing the long game anymore. So there's not really a thought to that. Now, they think about the climate in the next 100 or so years or something like that. But you take these people who don't have kids, they don't have to worry about that, because they're not going to be around for that. And if they don't have kids, then their kids aren't going to be around for it. So I think I don't know, maybe it's casting off, worries of the future. They're just losing a bunch of stuff. I don't know that it's the right way to live.
I'd probably say not.
If people want to be that carefree, and it's really I'm not gonna put them all in the group of being selfish, but at least the ones who are making fun of people for having kids, you belong in this category. I don't really want you having kids, so don't.
Unless you change your perspective.
Well, having kids might be the catalyst that changes their perspective.
Yeah.
But though the qualities that they're exemplifying on TikTok are not ones that we really want to be repopulating the earth with. So I'm not particularly, I think it makes me sad that there's people like that that they're not going to know what it feels like to hold a kid that is part them and part their spouse. Like that, that's not something that you can experience in any other facet of life. So I mean, it's, if they want to sacrifice something like that for the short-term gain of traveling and experiences, then go for it. But I think Peterson said it best when you get into your 60s or 70s and you've been living that long, life starts getting really lonely and you don't have a family around you anymore.
Yeah. Because I think Jordan Peterson does a good job at playing the long game. You talk about someone who's slightly better spoken than Candace Owens.
Just a little bit.
I'm so sorry, Candace.
I'm not.
I think she's like Trump. Sometimes she really hits it on the head. She's hit on the head a lot with.
With
black
I
issues.
think she's definitely like Trump. They spout off on stuff, and sometimes it's like that's right,
really
that's good, good job, and then someone's like,
nope.
Shut up. Shut up.
It's like, no, stop. I just think she has to mature a little bit. And she's got to really, I think a very Christian quality is self-control. And if she was able to
harness that.
Yes, I think she would be just more fire than she is. Because I think if she continues down this path, I don't know how popular she'll be anymore. I'm not sure. Anyway, so Jordan Peterson is a lot better spoken.
He's a bit older and more experienced too. So he's been through it. He's talked about having a temper.
Yeah. But I mean but it comes with age of like if you're willing to just bring it down.
Because we also know old people that are very short tempered.
We do. There's a lot of older people that are like that. But I think the thing with Jordan Peterson is that he's gotten to a point, he is older, he takes time to think through what he says, which is so rare. Like when you see him on a tour or something, like there's points where he'll just be like, I'm just going to be silent.
Yeah, he has no problem not saying anything. Like a lot of people,
because his words have impact. And he knows that. It's like every word that we say as people has some kind of impact, and he recognizes that.
Yeah, a lot of people get awkward, or they feel awkward when there's silence and they're not responding, and they think I need to respond now.
Right.
But he seems perfectly calm and happy to just sit there and think and organize his thoughts before he says something.
Yeah, which we could all learn from.
Yeah,
including myself.
I don't see a downside to it. At all. They're very, very different, but
he does do a good job playing the long game, and I think he does this with kids, right? And he also does it a lot with relationships and marriage, like the way that he approaches it. One of my favorite things he's ever said about marriage, he's like, if you're trying to be happy in your marriage, that's such a low goal. and he is 100% correct.
Yeah.
He is correct. It's like that is such a low goal. And because happiness is so temporary, he looks more at that long term, and the way he describes marriage is like, okay, I've linked myself to you, you've linked yourself to me, we both suck, but we probably can't find anything better. And you're just laughing because there's some level of truth to that, is that you just make that choice and you say, I'm not going anywhere. But he does a great job looking at the long game. And I think you brought up a really good point about it really is about that instant gratification. And you have to work hard at kids. They take a lot of work.
I can't fault people for wanting to have experiences in travel. I want to have experiences in travel.
I feel that.
But I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm going to have to pick between traveling and having extravagant experiences around the world versus having kids, personally, my priorities are going to lie with having kids and building a family.
Yeah.
And if somebody else chooses something else, I mean, they're free to do so.
They are free to do so. They absolutely can. And I think, God works in those situations too. And of course, this is leaving out a group of people that want children but cannot have children.
Right.
That's a very different situation. I'm talking about people who are like, heck yeah, I don't have kids and I don't ever want them. Like those are two different groups. I hope this is okay. I think I had a conversation with a friend of mine. I don't think she'll mind me saying this, but she's a bit younger, but they're married and they have 3 kids, and I think they were asked by someone, that you know, had maybe a little bit more money. He's like, don't you guys just want to travel? And like, don't you guys just want to do that? And, you know, she kind of thought about it, and they're like, you know what? We'd rather have the kids and do our once a year Myrtle Beach vacation. And we'll travel later. Like, it's a matter of, this is our priority, essentially. And it's honestly much more respectable to me than someone like, and I'm going to be very careful with my language. It's much more respectable for me to hear someone say that. Because when I hear someone say, oh, I just want to travel and stuff, you don't think to yourself, wow, what a noble goal. Like, you don't think that, right? No. You're just kind of like, oh, that's really cool. Like, that's cool that you want to travel. Like, but when someone says, you know, this is something that we want to do, and maybe we'll do it in our marriage at some point, you know, we'll save up, you know, but we really want to build our family. You think to yourself, oh, it's a really noble goal. That's good. That's a good thing. Yeah. And so you get two very different reactions. And I think because one is more self-fulfilling in the sense of, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And with kids, there's a bit more like, no, I'm going to sacrifice. Now, I will say, and I've had to work on this in myself, some people have kids for their own gratification as well. That does happen.
Not good.
Yeah, so I think if you do it right, if you're going to have kids, don't do it just because you want to put them in a cute bow
or you want them to live the life that you never lived. Like, I understand wanting to improve the life experience that your kids have versus what you had. That's kind of what every generation does. They try
that's a good goal.
They try to make it better. But, you know, just because you couldn't be, you know, a basketball champion and go to college with a scholarship and stuff doesn't mean you need to have your kid doing that for you.
Right.
They may not like basketball at all. Maybe they do like it. You might get lucky and have this kind of dream together. But I mean, I think that's important to just make sure your dreams stay separate from your kids.
Right.
And if you're past your prime, it's over.
Oh, yeah.
Find another way. Go coach a team to the championships. I don't know. Like, there's other things that can be done.
Yeah, it's just a question of, are you using your kids and living vicariously through them? And I think every parent has to struggle with some of that, and that's okay to struggle with that. But I think there are some parents that, yeah, I know some of them that just live through their children, and that's their life. And if you took away if you took away, like, try to ask them, hey, try to talk about something else besides your kids, they don't even know how. They don't even know how. Where it's like, okay, like, I understand you love your kids and you should talk about them because they're a huge part of your life. Duh. But it's like, can you have a philosophical conversation? Can you have a biblical conversation? Can you have a conversation about a part of your life that has nothing to do with your children? Because at the end of the day, your kids are going to leave you. They're going to have their own family. They're going to have their own kids. And you are not going to be the most important thing in their life. Nor should you be the most important thing in their life, especially if they have a spouse and especially if they have children. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, and we discussed this in our Valentine's Day episode with some of the questions where it was, I think it had to do something about your relationship with your kids. And it was like, you should value your spouse 100% over your kids. Because like you said, at the end of the day, the kids leave and you're left with a spouse.
You're left with that old crinkly person.
Yep. And it's best to make sure that you've taken care of that marriage through the 20, 30 years of raising kids. Because at the end of it, you don't want to walk into the room and not know who's sitting there on the couch.
Which that's a very, like, scary thought.
It is. I mean, those years will go by fast. I mean, it's one of those things about time where it's just like, oh, where did it go? You know, it feels like just a few years ago, like, my little siblings were all, you know, under the age of 13. Now they're all over that. And it's a weird concept of the way time works, is that it feels only so long ago, but it's been much, much longer.
It just goes by
like
fast.
Every kid, you know, every parent experiences that with their kid. And you're just like, oh, you know, sorry, they were in diapers last year. Now they're graduating college, or they're getting married, or here's their first kid.
Yeah.
And those days are gone in a flash.
Yeah. I do, and I'm a horrible person, I'll admit it. I do make fun of people, and I'm going to give a caveat to this, where they're like, oh, 6 months, where's the time gone? I kind of make fun of them, and then I stop myself and I go, no, it probably does fly to them. They're like, how did this even happen? I have 6 months and then a year, and they keep growing. And so I let it go, guys. I let it go, where I'm like, you know what? I don't fully understand this, but I can try to understand this.
She's going to be one of those people.
No. Like, you're not even, Eden and I joke where it's like, you're not even going to know I'm pregnant. I'll be on Facebook and suddenly I have 3 kids and you'll have no idea where they came from. And that's exactly how it should be. I've become much more private.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want people in my business as much anymore. I changed a lot over the past few
Let's
years.
try this off the top of your head. How long does it feel like you've known me? Nope. You gotta admit, you don't start adding years.
I mean, since I was a teenager, it feels like it's been a while. That's like what I think, just a while.
Just a while.
Because here's the thing. Here's what I think about, like, especially with us, is that, like, I moved to North Carolina when I was about 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a point in life where most of my memories were of that, and I could never move past that in my brain for other reasons that we won't discuss on this podcast. Just moving is tough. But now I feel like I've been here now half of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them are with you and other people, obviously, but you're a big part of it. And so I think to myself, oh gosh, I've known him for so long. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just been a while.
It's like 8 years.
Yeah, because I was 17 and you were 22, and now I'm going to turn 25 this year. You're going to turn 30, which is, like, I think that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought you were so old when I met you. And now you're going to be 30, and that's insane.
Yep.
And now I'm past the age that I met you, which is insane.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been 8 years. Not to me.
And it's just, like, weird. Like, now I'm, like, talking to my friends, and they're like, yeah, we're having kids, and, like, eventually you and your wife will have children. And it's just crazy to think that's like, the new reality that you're starting to live in.
Yeah, get ready for these years to really start flying by.
It's gonna be
when your friends' kids are growing up, and you're like, oh yeah, I was there when we had the baby shower, and then
gosh,
oh, they graduated high school. Oh, they're getting married now. All right.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be. I mean, your kids aren't gonna be that far along, so it's like it's just gonna be. I don't know. The next like 20, 30 years are gonna go by fast.
Yeah, so you gotta soak up.
Then I'm gonna be 60.
60 years old. We'll just make it to 30 first. Talk about 60 later.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
But I think the general consensus from both of us is, if you are in that position, have children. We don't have them ourselves, obviously. No. But I do think that if you are someone who is dual income and has no children, if you don't want to have kids because screw them, okay, that's fine. But stay the heck away from people that are having kids. Let them raise them without you making fun of them, please.
Go travel, jump on a boat or something.
That does actually sound fun. Again, these things sound fun. Like, I don't have anything against them.
They are fun, but I mean, I would have less of a problem with people that are just like, yeah, we're dual income and we travel around and kids aren't really in the plan. All right, cool. And then they treat people with respect that decide to have kids.
I can live with that.
Versus the people that are just kind of like shoving it in everybody's faces. And it's like, all right, well, we'll see if you're saying that in 30, 40, 50 years when you're by yourself.
Right. I mean, I still have it. It's not even like a harsh or like I look down upon them. It's kind of like what you said, like you have a concern for them. It's like, I want you to have kids because like you have to look at the long game. Again, it's like, when you're 60 or 70 years old, like I want them to have somebody. Like that's a part of life. And so it's not me like trying to be like, oh, you're a horrible person for not wanting kids. It's more of like, are you sure? Because this is a window of time that, you're not Sarah and Abraham.
You don't get it back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, make sure that this is actually something that you want to do and not have kids because it could be too late at some point.
Yep. And as long as you're living for the moment and in the now, you're probably just not going to, I don't know. I think that affects the way you see things towards towards the end of your life.
I think when you have kids, I think from every parent I've talked to, at least a healthy parent, is that it changes their life in a good way. Where you realize, I think you know this, and I only understand this slightly because I understand the concept. But when you are married, if you're in a good marriage, you just realize how selfish you are. But when you have kids, you really realize how selfish you are.
I wish I could remember what it was. Pastor Robert Morris had a lesson on this, and it was something about, when you get a spouse, it does teach you to be. I think it was teaching you to be a servant or something like that. To be selfless and be serving. He's like, and then when you have kids, it's so both of you can die and be reborn a lot less selfish than you were to beget. I mean, he's essentially it's just like marriage is to put you through the fire, and the kids are there to kill you. I mean, he was talking about kill you in the sense of dying to yourself. Like you are not. Yeah. You're not going to be the priority anymore, and it's going to really test you and your spouse as you take care of these kids. And it's good for your character
if you're able to successfully make it through those tests.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that leaves that for this episode. Let us know what you think in the comments. What do you think of DINKs? Do you think Candace Owens is off base? Do you think that Jordan B. Peterson is on base? Let us know.